Hey guys, welcome back. So we're continuing the new What If Venom series with the story of the Symbiote Supreme, Doctor Strange. So if you're just tuning in, I got a playlist in the description that'll get you caught up with the events leading up to this point, so that way you can see how this all began with Eddie Brock not becoming Venom. But with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so coming back, we pick up with Doctor Strange in Chinatown at the same bar where Sabretooth and Wolverine recently went toe-to-toe. And like we saw, when Strange got here, he noticed the backpack that Sabretooth left behind had been making noises, which led him to believe that there was more going on here than what it appeared to be. And the reason why Doctor Strange is even here, it goes back to the first issue in this series, when Jennifer Walters first bonded with the symbiote and the Boogeyman headlines started to pop up. Well, even more of these sightings got mentioned after Wolverine bonded with a slither of the symbiote, which is what eventually led Doctor Strange here. And after further investigation, he ends up finding a broken transfer canister, which as it turns out, it's just the symbiote hiding again. And mind you, prior to this, Strange had his suspicions of something here hiding its appearance from him, only to find out that he was right. But even with him having these suspicions, when the symbiote confronts him, it's still not like Strange is familiar with this thing at all. So at first, when it reaches out to bond with them, and Strange uses a spell to block it, it's not like he knows that the symbiote's trying to bond, but it's more of the case of this thing rushing into his personal space. And there's moments here where he even gets help from the Cloak of Levitation, with it tugging him out of the way and helping him dodge faster. But as far as what Strange can gather at the moment, he's aware that what he's dealing with is alien, and that it's not giving off any type of magical energy. So next he tries to use a containment spell on it, only to have the symbiote evade the spell and his detection. So after this, Strange makes his way back to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Now that he's back, the first thing he does is try to make sense of his recent encounter, which is what leads to him having this conversation with Wong. Cause in a lot of ways, you can look at this what if story like it's just another Doctor Strange issue, where he's facing some creature from the unknown, or actually dealing with the Boogeyman. Because to him, at this point in time, no one really knows about symbiotes. Eddie Brock never became Venom, so for Doctor Strange, this is just another Tuesday evening, or whatever day this actually happened on. But the first thing Wong tells him is that this creature must be clever, since it was able to sneak past Doctor Strange. But Doctor Strange isn't as convinced on the creature's intelligence. But what he does know is that it's highly adaptive with extraordinary camouflage capabilities, and that it prefers to hide in plain sight. And in addition, he detects no magical energy or origin to this creature, but also because Strange knows that he encountered just a piece of it, which can operate independently while still remaining connected to the others. It now raises the question, is this creature telepathic? Because the multiple other pieces fall in line with the Boogeyman sightings. But for Strange, now after settling in and setting the Cloak of Levitation aside, it's here where Wong lets Strange know, since this isn't too serious, he'll leave him to it, cause tonight also happens to be the season finale of The Bachelor, and him and Madison been waiting to watch this for weeks. But it isn't until just after Wong leaves, when Strange gets close to figuring this out, cause he thinks to himself, what if Wong is right, and the little booger did escape? Highly improbable, which means that it would have used me as... But before he can finish his thought, Strange discovers that he has a surprise visitor of the highly attractive and seductive type, where at first her identity is a bit of a mystery, but Strange ends up figuring out who this is on the first guest. And lo and behold, it's the Enchantress, who more or less tells him that she was taking holiday on this world, which was perhaps out of absolute boredom, but before she left, she came across the Sanctum, and it practically beckoned her to come in. And so really quick, just something to know about the Enchantress, or Amora. She really doesn't need a reason to go after someone, so in a number of cases, she'll just seduce and manipulate, either to increase her power, seek revenge, or just have a little fun. Cause even going back to what we know about her earlier days, she was born in Asgard, which is where she learned Asgardian magic, but she was eventually expelled for the having too much fun part. But even after that, she continued to grow her magical skill set by seducing Asgardian mages and wizards, which from there had pretty much turned into her signature method. Cause even when she was initially introduced in Journey into Mystery issue 103, when Loki put the idea in Odin's head to find a woman more beautiful than Jane to make Thor forget about her, Loki went over to the Enchantress. And even though she knew this whole thing was Loki's plan, she went along with it anyway, because at the time she saw this as more of a challenge and something to do. So for her, when Thor, or Donald Blake at the time, resisted her to go after Jane, this only fueled the motivations of the Enchantress because much of her leverage is based on the idea of her being irresistible. And in this story, we see her execute a lot of these classic tactics. And at first, Doctor Strange, he's aware that he's playing with fire here. So he tries not to fall for the seduction. So he tells her like, hey, if you want a tour, I could do that before I see you out. But it isn't too long before his carnal desires start to get the best of him, and he eventually slips into her spell. But as soon as this happens, it's here we find out that Strange's assumption from earlier about the symbiote hitching a ride with them, it was true, because all this time it was hiding on the cloak of levitation. So the symbiote's able to swoop in and pull Strange away from Amora just in time and get him to come to his senses. Because even now, Enchantress admits that what she said earlier was true, as far as her just making her way here because she was bored, because now she wants to make her little vacation worthwhile by taking Doctor Strange's head as a trophy, and the rest of his sanctum too. But now with the symbiote jumping onto him, he has his attention split in two different directions. And because the symbiote's trying to save him, it's like focus on her, not us. But in the moment, Strange can't help but to be intrigued when he notices how the symbiote's infiltrated his mind. But because he doesn't really trust it, he ends up using a spell to keep the symbiote still so he can focus on Amora. So right here, the symbiote ends up telling him, Steven, your carnal desires will betray you. It's in her nature to make it so. It's in ours to help you survive. So for a moment, Strange is like, I've survived this long with my desires intact, so I'll take my chances. But as Amora continues to come after him, Doctor Strange ends up changing his mind. So he then makes a deal with the symbiote, letting it know that he'll accept its help, but if it touches the Eye of Agamotto, he'll banish it into the unknown. But as soon as they make this agreement, Enchantress sneaks up behind Strange. So in one really slick movement, he drops through the ground to get away from her and lands right behind her with the cloak in his possession. Which right here, this lets Enchantress know that this symbiote is going to be a problem, because now that it's helping Strange, she's losing the advantage that she had in this fight. And it catches both Strange and the symbiote off guard when she lets them know that she can hear the symbiote too. So now not only does Strange have the symbiote talking in his head, now there's also Amora, who in addition to this, she's attacking them with nearly every weapon in sight. So at this point it has Strange telling the symbiote that it can go ahead and provide that help that it was talking about earlier. So from here, the symbiote ends up taking Strange to the vestibule area, which at first has Strange thinking that it's trying to make a run for it, only for the symbiote to let him know that they're not running, but instead, they're just moving to an area where they can stretch their legs. And mind you, this whole time, Enchantress has been chasing them throughout the sanctum. So at this point, when Strange's appearance starts changing, she's watching the whole thing. And right here is the symbiote's essentially given more access to Doctor Strange. It tells him, you're unlike the others, Steven. You're different. Stranger. We love it. And again, mind you, Enchantress is looking at this whole thing, and she's just like, I think I'm gonna be sick. Because now Doctor Strange has turned into this one-eyed arachnid-like monstrosity. But also alongside of this transformation, Doctor Strange has allowed the symbiote to take the wheel here. So for a moment when Enchantress asks, like, who are you supposed to be? The symbiote tells her, we're the symbiote supreme, and you're not going anywhere. Which from here leads to the symbiote using a number of portals to reach through and grab Enchantress, while more or less telling her that this is the part where she gets eaten. So right here, she's just like, nah, it was fun until it wasn't. And poof, she's gone. Cause all this right here, it's too much. And it's funny cause Strange even asked the symbiote, like, were you actually gonna try and eat her? And the symbiote's just like, yeah. Like, what you think? She was looking like a snack. But jokes aside, Strange can't help but to be impressed with how the symbiote has adopted his muscle memory, cause that in itself is a crazy upgrade if you think about it. Cause with 6 hands, Strange can theoretically do 3 times the spells, if not more, at the same time. Cause not every spell requires him to speak an incantation while he's doing it. But even with this in consideration, the symbiote tells him that this is only a taste. Imagine if you gave us full access as it reaches for the Eye of Agamotto. So Strange tells him like, nah man, we had a deal. And the symbiote's like, deals change. To where from here, the symbiote continues to go after the Eye of Agamotto. So Strange forces the symbiote off of him. So following this, the symbiote's just like, fine, we don't need you. We'll find another in this place. So from here, it tries to go on its way. But on nearly every turn, Doctor Strange is stopping it and keeping the symbiote from getting away. And he eventually tells the symbiote that it has no other choice but to cooperate, which at first doesn't sit well with it, so it tries to attack him again. cause the way the symbiote sees it, it doesn't want to be bossed around. So Strange lets it know that this isn't that at all, but instead it's more like they have an agreement. And as part of that agreement, they're gonna start with boundaries. Cause at the end of the day, whoever the symbiote's bonded to, that host needs to be cooperative. And because Doctor Strange is the best host that it's found so far, this causes the symbiote to comply. So Strange just tells it, return to me some bodily autonomy, and you can emerge when there's an actual threat. And without saying a word, the symbiote complies. But right here, someone standing off in the far corner is just like, impressive. So Doctor Strange turns around, only to see that it's Mark Spector, who's now made his way here to bring Doctor Strange back to the Midnight Mission, Moon Knight's base of operations, because he believes Doctor Strange is the only person who can save everyone inside. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.